When the British Film Institute compiled its list of the 100 greatest British television programmes of the 20th century, one screenwriter appeared twice. He also created an important part of the foundation for Hammer's golden age. Yet few people know his name. Thomas Nigel Kneale was born on April 28, 1922, in Barrow-in-Furness, Lancashire, England. His parents were Manx, and when Nigel was 6, the family returned to the Isle of Man.
Side note: Manx refers to the people of the Isle of Man. The Isle of Man is a self-governing crown dependency, not part of the United Kingdom. It has its own parliament, government, laws, courts, taxation system, and language. The British Crown provides its constitutional link to the UK, while Britain is mainly responsible for defence and international representation.
When World War II began, Kneale tried to enlist, but was rejected because of poor eyesight. He began studying law, but soon realised that qualifying in Manx law would largely confine him to the island.
I'd be stuck there for life, because Manx law is different to English law. Once you passed the exams, you stay and practice it, but you cannot practice it anywhere else.
Looking for another path, Kneale turned to writing and studied at RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. In 1946, he read his story Tomato Cane on the BBC. It was later published, and the collection containing it won the Somerset Maugham Award in 1950.
Side note: the Somerset Maugham Award is a British literary prize established by W. Somerset Maugham in 1947 and administered by the Society of Authors. It was created to help young writers broaden their experience through foreign travel.
The award helped Kneale secure work at the BBC. He initially polished other writers' scripts, but soon became a general-purpose writer.
I was writing for every department. The music department, the children's department, the light entertainment department, and, of course, drama.
In 1951, Kneale became a staff writer for BBC Television, though television was still regarded as secondary to radio.
The theory was that television was radio with pictures,
Kneale said.
And no one was interested in spending money on that.
Val Gielgud, the new head of BBC television drama, disagreed. Believing in both television and Kneale, he reportedly spent the department's entire £250 annual script budget in 1952 to hire him as a full-time writer. British television was about to explode in popularity. King George VI died on February 6, 1952, and his televised funeral encouraged many families to buy television sets. Demand grew even more with the televised coronation of Queen Elizabeth II in 1953. The BBC suddenly needed more programming. Nigel Kneale answered the call.
I was thinking up the story,
he later recalled.
Nobody knew if it was safe to fire a rocket a long way and bring it back.
The result was the Quatermass Experiment.
Side note: Kneale later said he found the unusual name Quatermass by randomly opening a telephone directory.
The 6-part serial became a major BBC success. Hammer producer Anthony Hines immediately saw its cinematic potential and persuaded the studio to buy the film rights. Kneale was pleased until he discovered he would receive no money from the deal and had not been asked to write the screenplay. He believed director Val Guest's adaptation cut away too much of the original story, although Guest had to reduce roughly 300 minutes of television to an 85-minute film. Kneale also disliked the casting of American actor Brian Donlevy as the very British Professor Bernard Quatermass. The film was nevertheless a major success. Kneale received no financial windfall, but he gained considerable recognition. He continued writing for the BBC, particularly BBC Sunday Night Theatre, including a controversial 1954 adaptation of George Orwell's 1984. The production was highly successful, but provoked outrage. Some viewers objected to its depictions of torture, while others were especially offended that it aired on a Sunday. The controversy eased somewhat after Prince Philip publicly revealed that both he and Queen Elizabeth II had watched and enjoyed it. The British Film Institute later named it one of the 100 greatest British television programmes of the 20th century. After the success of the Quatermass Experiment, Hammer wanted a sequel. Kneale, however, remained angry over the studio's treatment of the first film. Hammer made matters worse by having Jimmy Sangster write a sequel before obtaining permission to use Quatermass. Kneale refused. He was not opposed to another Quatermass story, he simply wanted to write it himself. Hammer changed the central character and released the film as X the Unknown. In 1955, the BBC asked Kneale to write a sequel. Quatermass 2 achieved even higher ratings than the original. Hammer returned for the film rights, and this time Kneale agreed. Even so, the finished movie disappointed him for familiar reasons. The 6-part serial was again compressed into roughly 85 minutes, and Brian Donlevy returned as Quatermass. The film was another commercial success. Around the same period, Kneale wrote The Creature for BBC Sunday Night Theatre, about an expedition searching for the Yeti. Hammer later adapted it for film, but Kneale again disliked the changes. This time, the movie also failed commercially. In 1956, the BBC commissioned a third 6-part serial, Quatermass and the Pit. Hammer eventually acquired the rights and turned it into one of the studio's most highly regarded science fiction and horror films. After the third serial, Kneale felt Quatermass had gone far enough. After all, the character had already saved the Earth 3 times. Kneale increasingly moved into feature films. In 1958, director Tony Richardson asked him to adapt John Osborne's stage play, Look Back in Anger. Kneale received a BAFTA nomination for Best British Screenplay. 2 years later, he received another BAFTA nomination for The Entertainer. In 1966, Joan Fontaine brought Hammer the rights to Nora Loft's novel, The Devil's Own, and Kneale wrote the screenplay. The film failed commercially, although critics often singled out Kneale's script as one of its strongest elements. Then, in 1967, Hammer finally produced Quatermass and the Pit, released in the United States as 5 Million Years to Earth. This time, Kneale had greater control over the screenplay, and Andrew Keir replaced Brian Donlevy as Quatermass. The film became both a critical and commercial success. As the 1960s ended, Kneale continued writing adaptations and original television dramas. In 1968, he wrote The Year of the Sex Olympics, depicting a dystopian future where an elite controls an overcrowded population through television filled with sex, violence, and increasingly intrusive entertainment. Decades later, the rise of reality television prompted frequent comparisons to Kneale's disturbingly prophetic story. In the early 1980s, he became briefly involved with another famous horror franchise. John Carpenter wanted the Halloween series to become an anthology rather than continue the Michael Myers storyline. Kneale was hired to write Halloween 3. Joe Dante was originally considered to direct before leaving for another project, and Tommy Lee Wallace eventually took over. Producer Dino De Laurentiis wanted more conventional horror elements, and Wallace heavily revised Kneale's screenplay. Kneale disliked the changes so much that he had his name removed from the credits. The resulting film, Halloween 3: Season of the Witch, initially received a poor response, but later developed a strong cult following. In 1996, Kneale reunited with Andrew Keir, who had played Quatermass in Hammer's Quatermass and the Pit, for the BBC Radio 3 production, The Quatermass Memoirs. In 2005, the BBC returned to the story that had launched his reputation with a live remake of The Quatermass Experiment, with Kneale serving as a consultant. Following a series of strokes, Nigel Kneale died in London on October 29, 2006, at the age of 84. Because Kneale worked primarily in television, the scale of his influence is sometimes overlooked. Quatermass was not only one of the foundations of Hammer's rise as a major British horror studio. Its influence spread throughout modern science fiction and horror. Its fingerprints can be seen in series such as Doctor Who and The X-Files. John Carpenter acknowledged Kneale's influence, particularly on The Thing. Stephen King also cited him as an influence. Joe Dante sought him out for Halloween 3, while Alien screenwriter Dan O'Bannon was another admirer. When the British Film Institute compiled its list of the 100 greatest British television programmes of the 20th century, Kneale appeared twice for the 1954 adaptation of 1984 and Quatermass and the Pit. He received 2 BAFTA nominations and was later honoured with the Bram Stoker Award for Lifetime Achievement. For a writer who began at a time when television was dismissed as little more than radio with pictures, Nigel Kneale helped demonstrate just how powerful the medium could be.
Will you please get me something to